What is up, Evil Dead fans? Fortunately, it's towards the end of the road for me building these Ash vs. Evil Dead chainsaws. I know. The reason for that is I have enough orders this year that most of my stock will be gone. My clamps will be gone, grills will be gone, all that stuff will be gone. So, and after that, I don't know if I'm gonna build anymore, and I don't know if I do anymore, when. I don't know. So I figured for the people who can't buy one and want to build one or have a friend build one, I can show you in depth on how I do it. And so that's my little thing to everybody that can't have one of mine, that want one of mine. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the starter covers. I'm going to show you what you need to cut out of this. I'm going to show you if you have a wrong starter cover, especially if you're in the UK and you can't get the right starter cover, how to make it more accurate, especially if you have one of these crappy little reds, which everything's accurate except for the side of the hole. I'm going to show you how for $4 in about 5 minutes of your time, you can actually fix that, make it accurate. And also more in depth, if you have one that's a little more inaccurate, how to actually fix that as well. So yeah, I'm going to make a whole series of this. Everything's going to be in depth. I'm going to make a playlist on it so you guys can find it easily on this channel. And like I said, I don't know when I'll build more again. Maybe another year from now. Who knows? Depends on when I get back in stock with some stuff. But the one thing with starter covers that I'm not going to show in this video, because I already filmed the starter cover video, I'm just making an intro now, is the grit inside. I will do that on another video. You don't have to do that immediately. This is just modifying it and showing the backing and all that other stuff and how I do it and what you need to cut out. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, as we can see here, we got two starter covers. We have this piece right here. We have one of Rob's grills from Evil Dead Chainsaws, or Rob Book of the Dead, a marker that's just actually sitting here. So when it comes to starter cover, first thing we got to do is make sure we have the right one, if you're working with the right one, or any of them, honestly. So with this one, let's pop open the back and take a look at that one in just a minute. So let's look at this one. Now, when it comes to cutting things out, that's the first thing we're talking about, is cutting things out. You actually want to take a Dremel, cut this out, and grind it down. You don't have to worry so much about this. It's kind of up to you. It depends on your hand size. If you have a large hand, you might want to do that. And you want to cut this down here. The reason why you want to remove this and remove this is when you do a horizontal handle, especially, if it's too high, just a little bit, it doesn't take much. If it's a little high, your hand's going to rub that. Or if it's too low, your hand, especially your thumb, might hit this. So it's good to grind all that out. Now, when it comes to this piece right here, let's just stick that in there. One thing you want to do, you don't have to remove this. I'm just using it as an example. You don't have to remove it, but take your Dremel, cut this white piece off and grind it down, because all it does is hinder your hand room. I used to leave it on there. Years ago, I used to leave it on there. Now I take it off because it actually leaves a lot more room. So just cut that off and just grind it down smooth. You don't have to do it too much. Just get it off of there. Now also, when it comes to the hole, you want to drill your hole about right here. I'm going to show it on the other one. About right there. That's where you want your hole. So if I was going to do a hole, I would look right here and come down to about right there. And that's where you want your hole. See where it kind of peaks? Actually, I'm going to bring it over just a smidge to about right there. That's really where you want your hole, right about there. All right, let's look on the inside of this one. Now this one, you see that's all ground off, and same thing at the bottom. And I have a backing. Now with removing this, I can put a flat backing. I used to put like a donut shape with it open so it could turn. You don't need it, cut it off. With this backing, all you do, this is a 4x4. right here, or a little under 4x4. Cut out first a 4x4 circle, and then if you need to cut it down, just so it fits in there. Just glue it in. What's happened with this is actually just a nice, hard, stiff piece of cardboard, not flimsy stuff. You can see it's not moving. Just let that glue in. See, I even took some of the stuff off there with that, or actually no, some of the red from my finger probably got it. Yep, red from my finger. Got on there. That's real stiff. You can see that I did put some rubberizer in there. I'm probably gonna put some more. I always put more in there when I'm completely done. And then a little backing right here to cover the hole. And this hasn't been painted or anything. You can see right there that it was an old piece of packing cardboard, which is very stiff and durable. That's why they use it for packing. Don't use anything that's already bent up. You want something that's real stiff. But the pull string still works on here. So you can see it still works. So that's what you want to do to clear that out. A couple other things you want to cut off is that tab and that tab, because if you're doing it inserted top, which I'm going to be doing on this video, the one I do, you're going to want to cut those off because your top's going to have to slide just in there just a little bit. So you want to get rid of those tabs because they don't go to anything once you're making a custom top. When it comes to another thing you want to cut off is these little tabs here. Now I used to leave them on there, but you should take them off if you want to go with an accurate dash for Evil Dead. Of course, you know, back years ago I didn't know they were gone, but you know, found out later. So you can see they're ground off here. It's not, doesn't look pretty, but the line is straight. Big part is you don't want to take out anything off this line because your grill is going to cover it up anyways. So I might have to take a little bit off of them there still. You can see it just covers it up. So there you go with that. Another thing that people deal with, especially in the UK, is not having the right Homelite available. You know, they'll just kind of get what they can get because that's all they can get. So when it comes to it, sometimes you'll find a Homelite where this has kind of a curve in, where it's basically kind of like this. Now what you can do is go to the store, and I always talk about this stuff, and use Milliput. Milliput is really good shit. Trust me on that. And then you just kind of form it out flat, sand it, boom, done, nice and straight. I've never had to do that, but if I had to, I would. And another big thing is this is off of a Little Red. And you can see the eyelet hole is quite large there versus the Homelite where it's hard to do one-handed, guys, and I do apologize. It's smaller. You can change that. Now this one doesn't have the pull cord. I'm going to tell you how to do it both ways without even having to remove this. What you do is you get your man, I am losing train of thought. You get your Dremel, you cut this off. Don't get into the plastic, don't cut the plastic off. And what you can do, if this is removed, you can just pull it to the bottom. If this is still intact and inside, you can still pull it out. It might be a little challenging, but you can still pull it out without having to remove this. Now, if this is intact, if that's what you have, if it is intact, what you do is, like I said, one-handed, man, that sucks. Let's just say that this string is inside that eyelet hole. What you do is you pull it out, and while it's still tight, you pull it over here, add some tape right here, pull, while making sure you have it secured so it doesn't wind back up inside of there, is you pull this through, put that through that hole, and knot it. Because what it does, it's pull up through here, or pull around there, and it's taped, and it is knotted right here, so it won't bind back through where you have to take it apart. Because if you've ever had to take one of these springs behind here apart and put back in, you know it's a pain in the ass. So that's the way you can hold that string there. So you do that first if it is in there. If it's gone, you can skip that. Then you cut this off and you just pull it through, whether it's intact or not. Use needle nose pliers to pull it through. Doesn't take much. What you do, and I'm using this as an example because I don't have one on me right now. I'll show you the final result of one that has it. You want a plastic, if you find it in steel, it's not gonna be thick enough. A plastic spacer. And I'm using a nut as an example. Now, you can say, well, that piece is metal. Well, on the show, it's actually just a full resin, body. So it doesn't matter as long as it looks the part. Because you gotta paint it red and black anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it's metal or plastic. So, as an example, just go to the hardware store, bring your starter cover in. Because the one that you'll need, actually, once this is gone, will sit right inside of there. Right inside of there. What you might have to do with the spacer is take it home, put it in a vise, and drill the inner hole out just a little bit, just a little wider, and that takes about a few seconds. This process literally takes 5 minutes. Once you have it to where it will sit in that hole and it's drilled out, you get some Loctite gel glue. You put it on the inside of this, and then you just slide that spacer in to where it is that deep. Now, once you've done that, just let it sit, let it dry. You can go ahead, if you're ready for paint, get everything painted because the string's out of the way if you want to do that. You can do that. If you're all ready for it, I do suggest to do that. Get that piece ready for paint before you do that, just so you can get that ready, let it sit, and then spray down. Like I said, this right here has to be red and black. That metal has to be red and black anyway, so it really doesn't matter. It just has to look the part. It has to be accurate to the look if you're going that in detail. And like I said, this will help out if you have a different starter cover, especially one of these little reds, which everything's accurate except that freaking eyelet. So you can have it non-working and hanging, or once it's all dry, you can just run your string back up into the eyelet and tie it to your handle and you're good to go. So that's how you modify that. Now, if you have a Homelite that has the wording and not the symbols, now here it becomes a problem. You need the symbols. Now, if you have an extra one that has the symbols, what I suggest you do is you make a mold. And what you do is you just make a barrier around here and a barrier around there. Say if you have an extra one or something, and then you can just go to Hobby Lobby or something and grab this stuff, high strength liquid mold maker, pour it in there, make a little mold, let it dry, of course, overnight. And then with the ones that have the wording, you're gonna have to grind that out with a Dremel, grind all that off. So then you make a cast of your symbols, and then you glue them on. And then with the milliput, you sculpt on the edges nice and straight, and then you sand it down nice and flat. That takes a lot of patience, and that is a hard thing to master. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, if you're really not good at sanding, that's something you may want to work on first, because you're going to have to make sure it's nice and flush, so when you paint it, it doesn't look like shit. Unless you're going to super grit it up. If you're going to super grit it up, it doesn't matter. You won't see it. Let me show you an example of one that I had to modify. It's actually just right here. This is my Army of Darkness one. See those symbols right there? They weren't originally on there. That was actually wording. This is the chainsaw I actually had to modify. So that's an example right there of having to do that and how nice it can come out. So yeah, that starter plate was not the right one. As you can see, it does have a little curve here, which that's not accurate. It should be straight. Of course, I didn't have very many options back in the day, but you can do that. So really, that's all it is, the starter cover. Let me show you one I got over here. It's actually drying. You see that eyelet right there? I have to clean up that edge on the inside, but that right there was one like that. That's actually one of those plastic spacers put inside of there. It is the same exact size as the other Homelite. So that's the way. If you can only get like a little red, or that's all you can get wherever you're at, or if it fits your price point, because these are a lot cheaper a lot of times, and trying to find one of these with a pull cord, it's easier to find this with a working pull cord than it is anymore to find an old one of these. So that's really all there is to it. It's not incredibly hard to do, but that's just what I do preparing these. Now, when it comes to rounding out these back edges for the insertion of the wrist clamp, the cuff, I'll go over that once I get to that step. But hopefully this helped you guys out, especially you guys in the UK where you can only get certain starter covers, or for a decent budget, if all you can get is a little red, because this is accurate except just for that eyelet hole. It's an easy 5-minute fix, and about 79 cents at the store for the spacer, about $2–3 for the glue. And the rest, you should have the tools already. Vise and your paint, and you know, needing those pliers, tape, and did I say vise already? I could have said vise already. And your Dremel. That's really it. So yeah, there you go. The next video, I'm not sure what I'm going to cover on that, but I'm going to go in depth on that as well. So, till next time, you guys, stay groovy.